What's up, men? Welcome to the Male Cartel podcast. Let's get started.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just going to be honest.
It's okay to be fat.
Dispelling toxic masculinity and really redefining what it means to be a man. Men can cry. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak.
I'm telling you right now, not everybody wants to see you win.
You seem to be more woman than you are man. You don't have any manly qualities.
You give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay, it's necessary. How are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Be a dangerous man. Being dangerous is not being a threat. They're two different things. You can't be a good man if you're not a dangerous man. You say one disrespectful thing to my wife, I am not only willing, but I'm able to inflict great bodily damage.
I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim. I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Here's your host, Nick and Shane.
Welcome back to the Male Cartel. This is episode 35. We're so grateful to be with you all. I'm here with my co-host.
You know it, your boy Shane.
And we have a special guest today, so we're not going to take a lot of time on the front end with any catching up or banter or anything like that. So Ethan will be excited that there's no banter on this episode.
Bless his heart.
But we want to introduce you to our guest, Mr. Eric Stewart. Eric, welcome.
Man, thank you guys so much. I feel like I'm on an old episode of Donahue. That man, long time listener, first time caller, and man, some of these new school kids ain't got a clue who Donahue is. They're gonna have to Google that one. That's from old school. But man, thank you guys for having me on. Man, I've been looking forward to talking with you guys.
Yes, from the 1900s, listeners.
Yes, sir. Yeah, caveman days.
I think I heard that on Rush Limbaugh as well. People would say, long time listener, first time caller. Good old Rushbo. Well, Eric, good to have you, man. Why don't you just start by telling some of the Male Cartel listeners and some of our community who you are. Give us a little bit of kind of information about who we're talking to, and then we'll get into some questions and let you share a little bit about your life and just your impact with men and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, man. So first off, I'm a son of God. I'm a born-again believer. Saved by grace by Jesus Christ back on December the 8th, 2002. I've been married to my bride, Miss Mandy. We have celebrated 25 years of marriage this year, been together for 29. We have 5 kids together. My oldest is 21, Brady. Connor's 20. Silas right in the middle. He's our 13-year-old. Yay for those ages. And then we got 2 little girls, Abigail 7 and Lydia 5. So we've done a real good job spreading them out. Live up in Lula, Georgia, which is up in northeast Georgia. If you know where Gainesville is, we're just about 15 minutes north of Gainesville. And blessed to be the pastor at Liberty Church in Lula, Georgia. We've been going on, this is our 11th year that we've been serving there as their lead pastor. And then, just part of Men of Valor Ministries. That we'll get more into that story, I'm sure, but just a God story there, and get to help lead with some wonderful men, just reaching men all around the world, just trying to make disciples. But just in a nutshell, man, that's me. That's who I am. Just love Jesus, love my family, and love getting to minister to anybody God puts in our path.
Eric, how old are you, bro?
I am 46 years old. I'll be 47 this coming May. So
You got married when you was like 12, right?
No, I wish, man. No.
You wish?
Yeah,
oh, gosh.
It's that good. It's that good. I hope my wife
Let's
listens
go.
to this podcast. It's that good. But no, I got married. I was 21. And she was 19 when we got married. So
Okay.
yeah, we were still babies. Didn't know what we was doing. But man, God was all in it. But yeah, love my bride dearly.
Man, that's awesome. Hey, tell us about like you growing up. Like, how was it because you grew up in the mountains, right?
Not exactly.
No?
We're right on the edge of them. I grew up in Madison County, which is just right on the outside of Athens. Is where I grew up. Went to high school there. But man, grew up. My mom and dad both good Christian folks. Dad was a choir director. He actually, Nick, I know this one. Shane, you might too. He went to Tennessee Temple. So that tells you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up IFB, Independent Fundamental, King James Bible believing Baptist. That's what I grew up as. But Dad was the choir director. He went to school for music at Tennessee Temple, and just grew up, man. Mom and Dad that loved the Lord, and man, grew up in the '80s. So my opinion, the best time to grow up, dude. You had Dukes of Hazzard, you had the A-Team, you had G.I. Joe. It's just the best time to grow up, in my opinion. In my opinion, man, just a great time growing up. Had a great childhood. Of course, we wasn't rich by no means, but Dad done his best to provide. Mom done their best to provide. But I got to see a mom. I lost my mom last year. She went to be to heaven, be with Jesus last January in 2024. And but got to see a woman truly live out her faith and truly set an example on what it meant to be praying without ceasing. I remember many times I'd hear Mama in the kitchen. I was the only child, so a little shout out to the only childs out there. But I remember many times hear Mama in the kitchen talking, and I'd be like, "Who the crap is Mama talking to?" And I go in there, she'd be washing the dishes, and she'd be talking to Jesus, just like he was standing right next to her.
Let's go.
And that was my mama. I mean, I can truly say, if I've ever seen anybody that what you've seen behind closed doors is the same thing you've seen out in public, it was my mama. She truly tried her best. She wasn't perfect, but man, she tried her best to love people. And when she passed, our family asked, "Man, there goes our prayer warrior. Who we going to call to when we need somebody to pray now?" But I had a good growing up, and just like I said, as you heard many times, had the drug problem. I got drugged to church every time the doors was open. We was there Wednesday night, Sunday morning, Sunday nights, and grew up in there. So it got a good foundation. I'm thankful for the foundation I had growing up with a mom and dad that loved Jesus and tried their best to grow up. But of course, there were some shortfalls that I've learned over the years, and of course, seeing some of the legalistic things that I grew up in that finally just got to the point where, man, I wanted to know what the Bible said, not just what people had told me, and started digging in. But grew up there, just, loved to coon hunt. We used to coon hunt a little bit, and loved to run the dogs growing up, and worked on a farm as a teenager. We didn't own the farm, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But there's a man from our church that owned the farm, and man, he just pulled me in for a couple of years, and that's where I kind of learned to do a lot of things just outside the home, just because there's a man just willing to pick me up at church and say, "Hey, won't you come stay at the house for a week? I'll pay you a little bit, and you can learn to do some stuff." So, but growing up, man, had a great childhood.
I thought he was going to say that he was. They were farm squatters. They just found a farm and just said, "Well, you know what? We're just going to claim it as our own.
This is ours, man." Y'all didn't do that as kids.
Well, Eric, you could say, man, I was drugged as a kid.
Yeah.
Everywhere, I was on some hard drugs.
Yeah,
they just drug you everywhere, bro.
It was.
I love that.
It was. Hey, I remember, man, on Super Bowl Sunday, we had to go to church on Sunday night, and man, I hated it. I'd go out, I'd slip out during service and go turn the radio on in the car just to see what the 49ers. I was a Niners fan back in the, that's the Joe Montana, Jerry Rice days. So I would slip out and go listen to see where the Super Bowl was going, because we'd, of course, be at church. But thankful for it now. Thankful for it.
Now, the 80s, that's not an opinion. It was the best decade.
It was.
I agree.
Right.
Now, producer Carell would disagree, because I think he said
he born in the 40s, right? What, producer Carell born in the 40s?
40 AD.
Yeah.
40 AD. Wow.
Yeah.
He looks good for his age, though.
Oh, he does. He
does.
So he there's so many generations that he feels is the best decade. But so you mentioned some of those shows. What was your go-to? What was your favorite show in the 80s? A-Team, you had Airwolf, you had Knight Rider.
Man, there were so many. I would have to say probably my top pick was the Dukes of Hazzard, though. Man, they were just
Oh yeah.
something about taking that charger and just jumping over stuff, dude. But of course, 18 probably run a close second. Um, Man, they were so Fall Guy. I love the Fall Guy.
Fall Guy,
The
yes.
truck, bro.
Yeah, man.
That truck.
Yeah, that truck, dude. That truck could do almost what the General Lee done. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be the Dukes of Hazzard. Man, I had all the little Hot Wheeled Dukes of Hazzard cars and Roscoe Pico trains. You know, I had it all. But that would probably be my favorite. What about y'all, man? What was your favorite growing up in the 80s? Y'all 80s kids, except for producer Carell. He might tell us about some old school stuff.
I'm right there with you. 100%. Fall Guy, truck, Dukes of Hazzard, Bo and Luke Duke. Yeah, I liked Knight Rider.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little old. I'll be 40. How old will I be this year?
47.
I'm 47 now and a half.
48.
So I'll be 48. Yeah, I'll be 48 this year. Yeah, so a little bit older. But, like, yeah, all those things, man, that was it, dude. Karate, you know, I want to be a ninja as a kid, too. So, like, I guess a redneck ninja. But Rambo was it, man. I made booby traps everywhere.
Yep.
Trying to kill something. If it, Red Dawn came out, so I didn't like Russians for a long time between that and Rocky. So nothing against Russian listeners, but we really did. We thought they were going to come out in parachute. I was ready to go, ready like Freddie with a 22 rifle, pop them as they come out. So, what about you, Nicholas?
I kind of like them all equally. I'd say probably Knight Rider, A-Team. There's a Fall Guy's one of those that's not mentioned a lot, so it's interesting you said that. Of course, they just came out with the movie. Hunter was another one. That was more of the daytime. He was like a detective or a cop, but I mean that was probably like a B level. But I'd say between Knight Rider, A-Team, Airwolf. I loved Airwolf. That was.
Did you like Chuck Norris?
Chuck Norris, absolutely. MacGyver was more 90s. I watched some MacGyver, but that was kind of like wanting to be an A-Team solo A-Team.
Yeah. Hey, did y'all ever watch Tour of Duty? Y'all remember?
Dude, I loved it, bro.
Oh,
I loved that movie.
Oh man, that was one of my favorites. Mine and my cousin, we'd get the camo on and go out in the woods and just shoot it up, man. So I didn't.
Dude.
There's a lot of people that don't remember Tour of Duty. And I'm like, dude, that was one of my staples during the week. Tour of Duty.
Oh yeah, I love Tour of Duty.
Yeah, we lived in the woods. We were all sorts of things in the woods. Soldiers, Ninja Turtles. I mean, you name it.
Hey, one thing as an only child, you have an imagination. So
absolutely,
just run with it, man. Run with it.
Those were the good days, hanging out in the woods and the creek and having fun.
Yep.
So you mentioned the farmer. Were there any other men that kind of influenced you in a positive way or even in a negative way, that may have led you down a path that kind of maybe influenced who you are today?
Well, man, I'll tell you, number one, of course, is my dad. Now, think about my dad. He's still alive. Got to see him this weekend, but Dad wasn't a outdoorsman. He wasn't your guy that, he'd take me fishing, but he was more of your book reader, just, man, liked to learn and still is today. He's got books all in his office at his home, but he'd take me fishing and he'd sit there and read a book while I fished. And so, but Dad, man, his love of baseball, he did get me into sports and things like that because Dad was a big Braves fan. So Dad, of course, had a lot of influence and still does in my life. Like I said, Jerry Beck was the farmer that we went to church with that, man, brought me alongside. He owned a hog farm, and, man, I learned a whole lot on the farm, just about life. And, man, he just poured in. Didn't have to, but Daddy and them would get about, man, you got to come home because I go stay at Jerry Beck's house, man, 2 or 3 weeks in a row during the summertime when I was a teen, just because Jerry's the one that got me into coon hunting. Jerry got me, just taught me all because we done all kind of farming. And then another one was my FFA teacher, Jerry Taylor. I think he's over at Athens Christians doing their FFA there. But Mr. Taylor really poured into me in my high school years when I was in the FFA and just took time just to pour into me. So overall, man, I had some great men pouring into me as just a young man and man. But I would say if I was missing the one thing, and this is not to knock my dad, so I want to honor him. But spiritually, even though I was in church and grew up in church, I really never had that guy that poured into me spiritually. And I think that's one of the things that has driven me to do the things that I do today, trying to pour into men and young men, is because I didn't have that growing up. And guys, for years, I used that as a crutch on why I didn't personally make disciples, because nobody personally discipled me. So therefore, I just used it as an excuse that I didn't know how. Nobody had ever done it for me, and so therefore, I didn't do it. But those men did show me things that I've learned, trades that I've learned just in everyday life, as far as just physically being a man. So I do appreciate all of that, because there's a lot of young men that doesn't have any of it. But I'd say spiritually, it was just, I don't think there's any, Nick, you was talking about any negative. I don't recall any negative where a man, luckily, man, I was blessed. There was no kind of abuse or anything in my childhood. So I know there's many men that can't say the same, and I hate that for them. But overall, if there was, it would just be lack of spiritual guidance and spiritual discipleship. Even though we was in the church, man, 3, 4, 5 times a week, still it just become a checking the box a lot of times in the church world.
Oh yeah. Hey, I totally get it. I can sympathize with a lot of ways. I did. I worked at a lot of different jobs growing up, and one of them I worked on a farm, so several different family members, and then as well as a local farmer. But he would pick me up. I had 3 jobs in high school, and he would swing by in his truck, and I became rented out property is what I felt like. So about 10 o'clock at night to bale hay.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, I hopped in the car with him, this truck, and he said, "Hey boy, you go ahead and grab those grab those gloves." And I looked at Mr. Ulrich and I said, my granddaddy said, "Real men don't wear gloves." And so from 10 to about 1 in the morning, it was raining, the day before, so the bales of hay are heavier. So we loaded up a big trailer and put up in the barn and all that. When I got done, my hands were bleeding, literally blistered up, bleeding. You got to follow the tractor. So 2 days later, that was a Tuesday. A Thursday, he hopped back in his truck about 10 o'clock at night. And I said, "Hey, Mr. Ulrich." He said, "Yeah." And I said, "You got those gloves?" My hands was chewed up. But I spent about 3 summers baling hay and running barbed wire and all this other stuff through the swamp. So I love the farm life. Hey, you're a pastor. How did you actually get into ministry? Like, how did that process happen for you? Do you just wake up and say, "Hey, boom, let's do this"?
Yep.
Like, how did it happen?
Yep, that's how it happened.
Seriously?
No, I'm just messing. No, man.
I'm about to say, dog.
So no, like I said, man, knew how to play the church game, played it for years. December the 8th, 2002, me and Mandy had been married for 3 years. We got married in 99. She was pregnant with our oldest son, and she wanted to go to church on a Sunday night. We were still going to a little independent Baptist church, and so we drove up and went to church that Sunday. I didn't want to go; I just went because she went. And that night, man, God got a hold of me, and that's the night I surrendered my life to Christ, man. And He redeemed me, and He made me right, and thankful for that night. Now, a little bit after that, we got out of church for a little while, just because we did. Our church didn't believe in having children's church. The kids should sit out in the pews with you. They should learn how to sit and listen. And so we had a few years later, of course, we had a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, 2 little boys. And man, we'd leave church more stressed out when we got there. So we got out of church for a few years, and then finally, man, just about the same time, me and my bride just one weekend said, "Man, we got to get back in church." And we did. We knew we didn't want to go back there, so we just randomly picked a church that we had drove by in our community, didn't know a single soul there, and said, "Let's go try them out." So we went down there. Man, felt so welcome. I'll never forget. I still consider him one of my pastors today. Chris Anderson come out. He was young. He's only a few years older than me. I'd never had a young pastor. Every church I'd ever been part of is the gray-headed guy that's 60, 70-year-old is the pastor. So when he come out, my first thought, guys, was, "Oh, here he gonna come tickle our ears." That was my first thought when he come out and I seen him. That Sunday, man, he preached the word of God. And we got in there. That's where God started delivering us out of legalism, because He really started, introducing us to some things and what God's word said. So we was there. He left that church. We prayed about, and we felt like we were supposed to stay there. And in 2010, we was over the youth group at the time, and we was taking our youth group up to the homeless shelter up in Gainesville, up at the Good News at Noon. We was taking them up on a Wednesday night to serve. And it was the middle of July 2010. And I've been praying and fasting all week. First time I'd ever fasted. You know, we went to Baptist church. We didn't fast. We had potlucks. They didn't teach it. I don't think I ever remember a message on fasting. We talk about prayer. We talk about everything else. They'd skip over that fasting part. So I never learned how to fast. But that Sunday night, just to as Shane said in the last podcast, to make a short story long, we went to visit a church. We was looking at a pastor to come. I was on the pastor search committee. I was the chairman. And me and my bride had drove down to Buford, and we listened to a guy that was thinking about calling. And on our way back, she didn't know I've been praying about if God was calling me into ministry. If I'm lying, I'm dying. We're riding down the road, just me and her. The kids were at her mom's house. And she goes, "Can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Yeah, baby, you can ask me anything." And she goes, "Is God calling you to preach?" And I about fell out of the car because I hadn't told her anything. I'd just been praying about it myself. And I just told her I don't know. And my wife, she's an introvert at heart, but she's a prophet at home. And she told me, she said, "Well, you know, if you don't surrender, our family will suffer." And I said, "Thanks for the encouragement, baby." So so that night, that Sunday night, I said, never fasted. I prayed a dangerous prayer. I said, "God, I ain't eating until you give me an answer." So man, I go to work Monday. I'm working for Pepsi Cola. I worked there for 20 years. I go to work that afternoon, man, hadn't ate all day praying. And I've been a tobacco chewer. I'd dipped snuff since I was like 12, 13 years old. I was 2 cans a day. That day I'm going down the road. I'm thumping my can fits to get me a pinch of snuff. And in my spirit, God said, "That may be what's keeping you from getting an answer from me." And I said, "God, if that is, I give it to you." And that day I know I littered, but I threw that can of snuff out the window, which I've done many times. And since then, now if anybody even opens up a can of snuff, I smell it. It makes me sick to my stomach. I've never put a dip in my mouth again. So that's Monday. We go Tuesday, Wednesday. Man, I'm hungry, y'all. It's been 3 days. I've never done this before. I'm starving to death. My wife makes this big bucket of pigs in a blanket. Y'all know what pigs in a blanket are, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
She makes this big old bucket of pigs in a blanket because we're taking all these teenagers to serve. And she puts it right in the middle between the driver's seat and the church van. And so all I can smell is them hot pigs in the blanket all the way down there. We get the homeless shelter. Our guys are back there serving. I'm just kind of sitting in the back, letting them serve. And the preacher gets up and preaches a message that night. And he uses one of Spurgeon's sermon titles. And he says this statement. He says, "When the hounds of heaven get on your trail, you might as well surrender." As soon as he said that, if he was still in their old building, I could take you to the exact spot, the old couch I was sitting on. In that moment, I just told the Lord in my heart, "I surrender everything to you. I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. I'm yours." And that night I surrendered my call to preach. We get back out in the church, man, funny story. So I didn't tell anybody in there because we're serving. And Mandy just seems to be, I just grabbed my hand down in that pigs in a blanket and I put like 4 of them in my mouth. And she just looks at me and she's just like, "Did you get an answer?" And I'm like, and she goes, and I go, but the neat part of the story, so some of our teenagers we had with us then, that night we went to Burger King afterwards, and I shared with all of them there that I'd surrendered my call to preach. And there's about 4 of those teens that were in my ministry then that are serving with me now at the church I'm serving at, and they're leaders. They're serving. They've got kids in our ministries, and so pretty neat story. But that's how I got into ministry, and from there, got into student ministry till about 2014. Felt like God was calling us to plant a church, and that's when Liberty contacted me right here in our community. It was a long story, but I'm not going to go into all that. How we got connected. They just asked him, "Can we put you in as a applicant for our pastor?" And I just laughed at him because I'm like, missions is my thing, student ministry is my thing, lead pastor. Never thought that would be me. As I told him, "Sure, you can put my name in the hat." Then that Sunday they come and listen to me preach. I happened to be preaching in a county over, and then a couple of weeks later they asked me to come preach at Liberty. I did, and they brought me in as interim. Then about a month and a half later, boom, here we are 11 years later, and still just serving the Lord right here in Lula, Georgia.
Nice. I wonder if producer Carell is dipping snuff, and that's what's causing our technical difficulties today.
He's probably chewing tobacco, bro.
Chewing that,
smoking the menthols.
He got that red man. Y'all go look for that red man in the back of his pocket.
He probably got them Newports, bro. The menthols.
He don't have to slip out during the podcast, does he? Because that could be where he's going around back and getting him one.
He keeps dipping his head down towards the
Y'all thought
towards the tables.
y'all thought he had a fog machine back there, but he just back there smoking one up.
I thought we had a leak or something in the bathroom. Well, it sounds like you did not surrender your life to Christ until really as an adult.
Yep.
And so what, in your perspective, kind of having grown up in church, even though it's more legalistic, independent fundamental Baptist, KJV 1611 only, on and on and on. What do you think today is one of the biggest obstacles to men passionately following Jesus and giving their life to serve in the gospel work as we've been called to do? What have you found, especially working with men, that's that biggest hurdle for them?
Man, I really believe, Nick, that it's lack of identity. That men truly don't know who God has called them to be. That they really don't know who they are in Jesus. And I was asked this question: hey, if you could only preach one sermon the rest of your life, what would it be? And my question always back is according if it's to the lost or if it's to the church. If it's to the lost, of course, we're preaching the crucifixion, the resurrection. We're preaching the gospel. But if it was to the church, I would preach the rest of my life to the church just on identity. I believe that is why the church is where it's at today, because people just don't realize who they are in Jesus, who Jesus truly makes them are. Because I truly believe if we realize who we are as sons of God, that it will change my outlook. It will change my mindset. It will change everything within me if I truly realize who I am. Man, we see this culture going after our kids, going after everybody, trying to tell them that, hey, you don't have to be male, you don't have to be female, that there's all these other things. They're saying they got options, which is everything outside the Bible. We know, man, family is under attack. With all different kind of things, man, with just saying, hey, if your marriage ain't working out, it's okay to check out and go find the next best thing, or homosexuality, or all these other things, man, that the world tells us. And man, when we get away from who God has called us to be, man, we're wide open to the world. So I believe, Eric's opinion, that the number one thing that's holding men back is their identity. And if I had to come with a number two, I would say it's just men being passive. That they've got comfortable, and man, they're just passive in what they do. They're just letting the women lead their homes. They're allowing their kids to do whatever they want to do, and they're just allowing the church just to do whatever. And they're not standing up on biblical morals, and they're just being passive. And we got a bunch of lazy men in the church that are just comfortable, just as long as they come to church, especially here in the South. As long as they come to church on Sunday, they show up, they shut their wife up, then everything's good. They can go back and doing what they want to do. That would be my top two: is lack of identity, and just we got churches full of passive, comfortable men that are not willing to step up. Because we know Jesus tells us, right, Luke 9:23, if you're going to follow me, you got to deny yourself, pick up your cross daily, and follow me. That cross is a picture of torment. It's a picture of death. It's a picture of pain. It's not a picture, of just this nice, pretty thing we wear around our necks, or, something we hang on a wall. It's not a decorative piece. It was a sign of death. And so if I had to pick two, there's many, but those would probably be my top two: is identity and passiveness.
So what motivated you to start investing in men? Like, I think of just as I've been a pastor I'm in my 25th year now, and I know a lot of pastors, and I know a lot of churches, and I have the opportunity to travel, and God's really blessed me at my age now that I thought I wouldn't do this stuff. And I don't see a whole lot of men, honestly, or pastors speaking out to men. So I would say you, in my professional as a professional pastor and human, that I don't see a lot of men that are pastors, obviously, but that don't speak out against men, or not against, but like into men and walking alongside of men. I don't see that. I see that to be a very precarious. Usually it's an area that it's like, I'd rather not, or I'll save it for like a sermon series, maybe, perhaps, or let somebody else do it. But I don't see a large percentage. I would say probably less than 25%, less than a fourth of pastors probably speak out and say that. What makes What's motivated you?
Well, man, what's truly motivated me, I believe, is I spoke on it a little bit earlier, is, man, my lack of personal discipleship in my own life, where I didn't have those men. You know, even after I got saved that night on December the 8th, man, they come up, they put me up front. Everybody come around, shook my hand. They gave me a little gift Bible. And then a couple weeks later, I'm baptized. That's it, dude. They wasn't nobody following up. They wasn't nobody saying, "Hey, do you understand how to study the Bible? Do you understand how to dig in? Do you understand prayer? Do you understand these disciplines that we're called to do?" And like I said, up until 2000, man, it's just been a short time. Up since 2017 is where God really convicted me on making personal disciples. Is going out and grabbing 2 or 3 men. I've been blessed to get to do it since 2017. Every year, man, I've got at least this year, I think I've got 9 individual men or in groups that we meet together weekly. We're talking through God's word. We're challenging one another. But I really believe, man, it was up to then. Like I said, I was making excuses that I didn't know how. And then God finally just in my spirit said, if you'll just be willing, I will teach you how. Don't trust man-made methods. Trust me. And man, that was probably my biggest motivator, because this is what I know. If men get it, others get it. We've seen the statistics, right? Man, if a man comes to know the Lord Jesus, man, it's like a 90-something% possibility that the whole family is going to make it. And those statistics, y'all have seen them. They're totally different. If the mom comes or if a kid comes, they're drastically lower. So knowing that, man, if we can get men truly set on fire, because Shane, what you said is true, man. You go look at most of our churches. You go walk in, it's got a feminine feel to it. It's got a feminine feel. And I thank God for the women that stepped into roles over the years where men were being passive and they were not stepping up and leading. I thank God for those women that stepped in, that taught Sunday school classes, that stepped in and kept the church going, because the church wouldn't be what it is today without those women that stepped in because men were being freaking lazy. But I'm telling you, there's time that we start making just a charge after the masculine soul. Johnny Hunt made a statement years ago that one of the most untapped reservoir of useful information for the kingdom is men. And it's untapped. And it's because, man, we're trying our best. And don't get me wrong, I know y'all got ladies listeners, they're probably going to get upset with me, but this is what we got in most churches, Shane. We got ladies ministry with bacon. That's what our most men's ministry are, is, hey, come, let's listen to somebody talk and have some bacon. And that's what most men's ministry are. And there's no depth. There's no challenge. There's no accountability. And it's what's caused our men to be what they are today. Let's just come, let somebody talk to me, and then I can go back home and do what I want to do. So I really believe what has really challenged me was the lack of discipleship in my life. And now me seeing, since I've got a little taste of it, to see the power when you get men in real brotherhood, not just meeting to come to the men's meeting, but I'm talking about brotherhood, that the difference it starts making in not only the men's lives, but the family's lives, the church life, the community life. And it all starts with the discipleship of men.
Boom. Amen on that. I'm taking an offer now, bro.
That's the episode right there. Pass the virtual bucket. You should at least serve sausage. I think that's what Grill would prefer, sausage instead of bacon.
Sausage already showed up, bro. It's like sausage fest anyway.
Yeah, that's why I choose at Hope Church Augusta, what used to be New Passion. I choose the paint colors too, because you walk into some churches and it's pastels and it's got to feel manly.
Yeah.
Khakis and loafers feel less manly as well.
Bro.
No offense.
That is true though.
Yeah. I'm just playing to all of our men who wear khakis and loafers.
We just messing with you. He's just messing with you.
He's just playing.
Man up. Anyway, so when was Men of Valor then started? What birthed that? And tell us a little bit. We'll talk about the conference at the end, but tell us about Men of Valor and kind of the purpose behind it. What inspired that ministry to be started? I mean, I think we got a little bit of a taste of your heart, and just in your previous answer, but share a little bit about really what inspired and was the catalyst to Men of Valor and what that ministry is.
Yeah, man. So in 2016, we took some men down to the Johnny Hunt Men's Conference down in Woodstock, Georgia. Love Pastor Johnny. And when we were coming back, me and Jordan Loggins, which is part of our executive team, he goes to church with me here at Liberty and serves. He's one of our deacons. And we were coming back and we said, man, why can't we do something like this back home? Why can't we just start some kind of something like this for men in the local churches around? So that was in 2016. So 2017, we decided, hey, let's try this. Let's do a conference here at Liberty, invite the local churches to come. And just put it on, make it free. So don't charge nothing, because we know a lot of guys can't afford to go to Woodstock and get a hotel room and stuff like that. So we tried it the first year. Man, that first year we may have had 20, maybe 30 men show up. It really broke my heart because, man, I invited all these local churches that I know the pastors, and man, none of them show up because, a lot of churches still have this it's us versus you mindset, where they scared we're trying to steal their men for some reason. I still don't get that, but anyway. So that first year, man, there's about 20 or 30 guys showed up right here. We had it in Lula, Georgia, right here on our campus. So the next year, we used our guys. We used my pastoral staff to teach those sessions that year. So the next year, we was like, okay, how can we get these local churches involved? So I invited local pastors to come and do the speaking, trying to say, hey, this is a kingdom event. This ain't about liberty. So, man, what broke my heart that year was pastors come, but they didn't bring their men with them. They come to speak, but they didn't bring their guys with them. And broke my heart. So that 2018, 2019, we tried the same thing. Then 2020 hits. We know what happens in 2020. COVID hits. Our conference was scheduled in April that year. And then, of course, COVID hit. So we bumped it back to August. And that year, we had it in August. We had some guys, and we had guys calling us from all over the United States saying, hey, is y'all's conference open to anybody? We plugged into a digital men's ministry called SoulCon, which we're still plugged in with pretty highly. But so we got to connect with guys all around the states, and we had guys calling us from Oregon, Nevada, and just saying, hey, can we come to y'all's conference? Because they got us on pure lockdown out here. We can't go to church. So we was like, yeah, man, it's open. So that year we had 14 different states represented that flew in, drove in from Nevada, Arkansas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, all around the states that come all the way to Lula to our conference. That year we had probably 80 guys show up. And that year we realized, man, God might be up to something. So in that year, we said, hey, we need to find something bigger because our church, we just don't have the facilities to have all the groups and things like that, to have small groups and have breakouts. So we started looking for a place. We found a place up in Toccoa, the Georgia Baptist owned. The day I was supposed to go sign the contracts, 2 days before they sold it. So that fell through. And then we just happened to run up on Ridgecrest Conference Center up in North Carolina. And in 2021, we moved our conference up to Ridgecrest, and we've had it there every year. So where it will be this year that we started there. But man, to see what God has done. So what Men of Valor started out was just a local men's ministry at our local church. We took it out from under the umbrella of Liberty, made it its own 501c3 nonprofit, because we was like, man, this ain't about liberty. And the thing I love about our church is we've got a couple of ministries that's birthed in our church, but we're willing to let go of it and let God take it where he wants it to go. We don't have to have a hand on everything. We support Men of Valor as one of our missionaries now. But since then, man, to see what God has done, last year we had about 300 men at the conference that we've grew to. This year we're looking at probably going to be maxing out the space we're in this year. But since then, man, 2020 also, we started what's called Man Up Monday. Both of you guys have got to speak on Man Up Monday. We've been doing it every single Monday since April of 2020, and we haven't missed a Monday where we're getting God's word together with men from all around the world. Now we actually have two calls. We have an East Coast and a West Coast call that happens every single Monday at 5:30 a.m., 2 different time zones, 2 different teachings. And all men are invited to come do that. It's on Zoom every single Monday. And then, of course, 2022, we began our podcast, the Men of Valor podcast, where, man, we just do what we do. We just challenge men. We talk about topics that men talk about and have different guests, different things that we just really dig in. In past year, we launched at the conference our MOV 4-5 discipleship training, which is a 45 days intensive training that we do digitally with men. So we just started one actually this past Sunday that we just started. But our whole heart for Men of Valor, our mission statement is simply this: Men of Valor exists to challenge men to live a life with bold courage as they follow Jesus and make disciples. That's the heart of what Men of Valor is, man, just to challenge men, to equip men. We're all about the local church because we believe if we can fire men up, that's one of our goals at the conference is to bring your men. We're hoping to ignite a fire that Jesus ignites a fire of them at the conference, and they go back to the local church and take that fire back home, man, and ignite their families, their local churches on fire for Jesus. So 100-foot view, that's kind of where Men of Valor come from and where God's got us to now.
Let's go. Well, I went to the conference on last year, and obviously Man Up Monday, and so I've been with you guys. It seems that you guys have a great brotherhood, among your community of men. How important is it for men to have that brotherhood?
Man, it's vitally important. As I said earlier, man, for years I thought brotherhood was just simply, getting together, go to the men's meeting, go to the prayer meeting, and go back home. But biblical brotherhood is so much more. I think any guy that's ever been part of the military, my dad was a Marine. I did not serve personally, but I know, man, those guys know what brotherhood is, what it means to go to war with other men and have each other's back. And that's what we're called to as followers of Christ. Because we are in a war. We're in a spiritual war. And man, it's so important to have men you can trust. I'm blessed to have men here locally, but I also have 11 other guys all the way from Oregon, California, Nevada, Arkansas, Louisiana, South Carolina, Arizona, that's all around the states that we talk every single day through the digital tools that we have, hold each other accountable, talk about real things, and ask each other the hard questions. Brotherhood is vital. And I think it's Shane, though, what we got to make guys realize that there's more to brotherhood than just showing up at church, just showing up to a men's meeting. The brotherhood, true brotherhood, is doing life together, man. It's knowing each other's struggles, getting to that place where I can trust you, that I can share with you that I struggle with porn, that I struggle with masturbation, that I struggle, whatever it is, right? And that's what true brotherhood should be, that I can come to you unashamed, right? That I don't have to bear no shame because my brother's not going to judge me. And man, the church has done a horrible job over the past decades of shooting their wounded, right? Somebody comes out, but find out they're in sin, man, and we shoot them and disown them instead of, man, let's help you get up. If you want to get up, we'll help you get up. And that's what brotherhood should be, is, man, that you surround yourself with guys that's going to help you get up, because none of us has figured this thing out, man. None of us is perfect. So vitally important.
Yeah, that's one of the things I appreciate about being a part of the Hope Church family is the brotherhood we have among the pastors, because pastors find it hard to talk to other people. You can't talk to people in your church about some of your struggles because then they go, "Oh, well, you're supposed to be the pastor."
Mm-hmm.
I think other important thing with brotherhood is the willingness for, I think about somebody drowning. And, you want somebody to be there to help if you are drowning, but at the same time, you got to be willing to be rescued. I know Shane and I know some people who, they say they want brotherhood, but instead of them being shot when they're wounded, they're the wounded doing the shooting because they don't want the accountability. And so I think it goes both ways. It goes hand in hand. You got to be willing to be a part of a brotherhood while having brothers who are willing to hold you accountable. And I think that's when it works really well. Before I move on to one of the things we like to ask all of our guests, you did mention SoulCon. You've mentioned that before because you and I did a contest. Producer Carell was in it, Ryan, some others, where we were doing some running and walking. And then you mentioned doing SoulCon after that. What is it? We like to provide resources for men. Is that kind of like a Christian 75 Hard, or what exactly is SoulCon?
Very, very, very similar to 75 Hard. It is a 42-day challenge for men. It's spiritual, physical, and mental. You can find more about it at SoulConChallenge.com. But you just buy a book, man. It's just a simple book. It's a simple read for men. I know a lot of men don't like to read. You should read. That's why you grow. But man, you read through the book. It's got daily challenges. We just finished up SoulCon Challenge Matthew last Saturday or last Sunday was the last day of that challenge. But man, it challenged you. I would say this, guys, and me being in ministry and Men of Valor, I would say the SoulCon Challenge is probably the best discipleship tool I have found for men that's geared towards men. If there's one challenge that I'd challenge men to go for, it's made to go do it with 10 to 12 brothers. They have challenges. They do 4 challenges a year. They have an app that you can download. It's a free download where they have community there. They have teachings there, and they do their challenges there. This last challenge, I think we had 450 men from all around the world that done the last challenge with us. But I would highly recommend, if you're a guy, go check out SoCon Challenge. You can Google it. It's wrote by Cody Bobay. I know Cody personally. Man, just his heart to disciple men is just, man, it's a great resource for men. So if you're looking for something to take some men through for a 6-week challenge, highly recommend buy the SoCon book and get some guys. Like I said, you ain't got to do it on their app. You can do it. It's made to do it. Just use some guys from your church. But if you really plug in, man, it'll transform your life. Great resource. Great tool.
They were going to call it 42 extra hard, but they decided to go with a unique. So if you were to sum up, like in a nutshell, what it means to be a man, like, there's the whole famous, what is a woman? If you were to if you were talking to a group of even young men to say, hey, this is what it means to be a man, how would you kind of explain that? What would you say in a nutshell is a man?
Okay. Man, there's so much that runs through my head. I would say, number one, a man's a leader. A man's called to be a leader, and we should be a leader. And that looks different for every one of us. All of us are gifted differently. But I'd say that we must be reminded of this, that Scripture teaches us that we are to lead with love. We're to lead with compassion. We're to lead with integrity. We're to lead with character. We should honor women. Man, we could kill the porn industry if Christian men would start honoring women instead of lusting after them. And then lastly, I'd say a man is one that serves others, but it all begins with following Jesus. So I'd say, man, a true man is a leader that leads with love, compassion, integrity, character, honors women, and serves others.
Boom. Hey, I like that. Keeping it on the shelf where everybody can reach it. Hey, tell us about the Men of Valor conference, which will be, Nicholas is going to race in it again, so I'm sure he's going to be the defending champion with a belt. I do ask that you guys get him a belt so he can walk around the campus with a championship belt for being the best runner that there is. I don't run that well because I'm a lion, not a cheetah. So, but I support my ace over here. So tell us about the Men of Valor conference and how can men get tickets to that, as well as anything else that Men of Valor offers that could benefit the men that are listening. So if you're a Male Cartel, go ahead and tune in right now, guys. Lock back in. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will tell you, Nick, I know there's a young man here at our church that come in 3rd place last year, and he says he's coming after you this year. So just go ahead and tell you, man, he done called it out a few weeks ago. We was over here. We have an active night we do with our men once a month, and we was over here running, and he says, I'm going to win that thing next year. So no, he's coming.
3rd place.
Yeah, so no, his name's Wyatt, and Wyatt's coming after Nick. So just to let you know. But
is he the same one? Is he the same one that's come after?
Coming, bro.
Is he the same one that's come after me the last 2 years?
I think that's his brother. I think that's Landon.
Oh,
I think
okay.
Landon's the one that was coming after you, but Wyatt, he's only 17, so he's coming after the old man.
Well, the guy who won 2 years ago, that was a runner.
Yeah,
he's tall, like 6.
I think that's Braden from Kansas.
Yeah,
Braden McNold. That won 2
now
years
y'all
ago.
don't drug test there either, right? Because we're about to get some TRT.
Yeah, but they will be pee cups at the end of the run, so everybody's got to pee in a cup before you go. Before we give out the results.
I'm flying to Mexico to get me some
trend. Let's go.
Oh, me. All right. So Men of Valor Conference. Guys, we'd love to have you come out and be a part. This year, it is August the 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's a Thursday evening, all day Friday, and then Saturday morning. You can go to our website, movministries.org. And you can see all of our resources, but on there, this year's theme, we're excited about it. This year's theme is authentic. And man, our theme is going to be for the conference this year. So if you look for that authentic tab, you can see our speaker lineup. Nick's going to be one of our breakouts again this year. We got some of those Hope Church pastors. Our main stage this year, joining myself, is Floyd Ogle again, Brian Edwards, and Nathan Cravat is going to be our main session speakers this year. And then we've got a whole list of breakouts. You can see all those on our website. It's got the schedule there. And, man, we'd love for you guys to come. We have it at the Ridgecrest Conference Center up in Black Mountain, North Carolina. The one thing we love about having it there, it's a one-stop shop. once you park your car on Thursday, unless you want to leave during the breaks, you can do everything on the conference. The lodging's there, the meals are there, the conference, the breakouts, everything you need is right there on the Ridgecrest Conference Center. So, man, you can get that cost. And if anybody's interested, they can email us at info@movministries.org, and we can send you more info, the pricing. But if you bring guys with you, if you bring a total of 6 guys and split a bunk room, you can get that total cost for the whole weekend down to about $177. And that's for 5 meals, 2 nights stay, your conference fee, and everything. But like I said, there's different things. We're filling up fast. There's another big group with us this year. So that's having their own conference, another men's ministry that we found out. So lodging will be tight this year. So if you haven't got booked up, get them booked up. But we'd love to have you guys join us August 14th through the 16th. Like I said, you can register, find out all the information right there on our website, as well as, of course, I mentioned Man Up Monday earlier. We have 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have another call at 5:30 Pacific Time. We do that on Zoom. So all men are invited. You can find the links on our website. You can find the links on our socials. We share those constantly. The code never changes. So if you get it, you can join us any Monday. We'd love to have you. Of course, we have our Men of Valor podcast. A new episode drops every single Thursday. We're in season 3 of our podcast. So there's almost 150 episodes geared just towards men. If you just go to your favorite podcast platform and just put in the Men of Valor podcast, it should pull us up. Or you can just go to our website and you can listen to it there. As Shane talked about earlier, we do have an online community. We got about 460 men on an app called Band, 100% free download app on your phone, or you can do it on your laptop as well. But we have guys from all around the world that do community there, share life together. We'd love for you guys to come check us out there. And, of course, you can follow us on all your social media, Facebook, Instagram, follow our YouTube channel. We load all our Man Up Monday teachings there. So if you can't make it on time, you can go back and listen to them. And you can just search for us at MOV Ministries is our name on all those. Instagram, I think you got to put a 1 on it because somebody already got the dang name before we got our Instagram page up. So you got to put a 1 on the Instagram, but everything else is just if you just search MOV Ministries, you should be able to pull us up, man. But we'd love to connect with you, men. And we'd love if we can help you in your walk with Christ, we'd love to be a resource and a tool for you.
And at the conference, they do a charity 5K. That's what Shane was talking about. And that money that is raised for that, you get a T-shirt, and then the money for that goes to a local charity or a charity kind of like in the region or whatever. Is that correct?
Yeah, we usually try our best to find a local mission because when we come to Black Mountain, we just don't want to come in and just come to a conference. We want to try to make an impact while we're there. So we challenge our guys. We got some guys coming in early this year that's going to the Black Mountain home, man, that got flooded through the hurricane. They're coming in early a couple days to go help serve. And that's what we challenge our guys to do. Get a small group of guys, have that brotherhood, go serve in that community. We want people to know when Men of Valor comes that, man, it's more than just a conference, that there's men that want to come serve and love the community. So that 5K, we'll probably open up registration in June. And like I said, 100% of the proceeds of that go to whatever our mission is. We'll be announcing that a little bit later, but we do have a local mission that we support each and every year.
So I know Dustin with what is it? Man After God?
Man After
Dustin
God
Alley.
podcast. Yep.
Yeah, Dustin. So will he be there with a little booth? Are we going to let us do Male Cartel? Have us a little side thing in the back?
He's already asked us to have a booth.
I offered y'all one last year, but y'all didn't take me up on it.
Hey, listen, we're going to be there. I'm going to man that because I'm not doing a breakout.
I didn't know we had the offer
you're a
to have a
speaker.
table last year, or we would have. So I misunderstood that, but I planned on this year for sure.
I'm Nick's hype man, so I'm going to be there. Make sure everybody knows that the champ is in the house, and then and then after that, we're going to be. I'm taking all of Dusty's people, bro. I'm going to have beef jerky and everything, bro. We're going to get free tattoos and everything, bro.
Yeah, but Dustin's supposed to be back with us. He's one of our breakout speakers again this year, and he'll be coming setting up a table for the Men After God podcast. Yep.
I'm just teasing him. He listens to us too. We listen to him. He's a good guy. I sat in his breakout last year. He done a great job.
Hey, did you learn anything in his breakout, or do we need to cut him?
No, it was great. He was really good. We actually had 2 guys in that breakout was really, really going through some junk with their spouses, and so it ended up being just an amazing time. It was like God ordained, and He handled it full of grace, and it was awesome, man. I felt like some of the guys that came in that breakout, they came in some bad in a bad shape, and they left in a better shape. And so I just loved it. It was great. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep, good stuff. Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. I think that gives us a good introduction to you. I know we would love to probably have you back in the future, maybe on a specific topic, but we wanted to make sure, especially at this season, that people knew exactly about Men of Valor. They could start planning for that, hear your heart, because I think that goes a long way. It is not only all of the stuff that you already offer throughout the week that people can be involved in each week, or through the podcast, but also with the conference. And so we wanted guys, if they wanted to participate this year, they could hear it straight from you, hear your heart for men, and also know about the conference. It is one of the most inexpensive conferences that you can participate in, especially with the meals and the lodging. Such a beautiful place. So we're grateful that you took the time to be with us, and grateful that you came to join us here on the Male Cartel.
Yep.
Thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed it.
Eric, you the man, dude. Appreciate you, bro.
Love you guys.
Well, guys, as we say every episode, get 1% better every day.
That's it. If you like it, share it. Let's go.
All right. We'll see you later.
Thank you for joining the Male Cartel podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share to help other men join the cartel. You can also keep up with us on social media and at malecartel.com.